had a series of meetings there in a church in West New York. But West New York is in New Jersey. And one afternoon, the lady who invited us to go there invited us to her house to have a meal. So that afternoon we went. It was before the meeting. And we noticed that not only we were there, but there was also a young man whom we had not, we hadn't officially met, although he had been at all the previous meetings. And so he shared his testimony with us there at the table. He said, I was standing on a street corner one Sabbath morning, and I saw this lady walking down the street, very nicely dressed with a Bible in her hand. And he says, I thought to myself, where in the world can this lady be going on a Saturday morning dressed up so well with the Bible? Because it was like 8:30, near Sabbath school time. And so he went to her and he said, ma'am, where are you going? So nicely dressed with the Bible. She says, I'm going to church. He said, you can't be going to church. Today's Saturday. You got the day wrong. People go to church on Sunday. So she said, no, not us. We go to the church on Saturday. He says, really? There's a church that keeps Saturday? She said, of course. The Seventh-day Adventist Church. That's my church. He said, well, can I go with you? She said, sure. Come right along with me. So together they went to the church. When he got to the entrance, he says to the elder who was greeting people there, he said, is this the church that keeps the seventh-day Sabbath? And the elder said, yes, it is. He said, well, then this is my church. So I went into the church, sat down, enjoyed Sabbath school. During the worship service, the pastor read a quotation from Ellen White, and he said, let's see what Ellen White has to say in the spirit of prophecy. So this young man, never had heard the name, he says, Ellen White. I wonder who she was. I think when I go home, I'm going to Google the name, and I'm going to see who that Ellen White was. Well, when you go to the websites, 90% of them are just inimical to Ellen White. I mean, they're just terrible, terrible in their comments about Ellen White. By the way, everything they say has been answered by the White Estate. You can go to the White Estate website, and they have an answer for everything that they criticize. You'll find some of those things in the book, 101 Questions, and some of the material in the syllabus. So anyway, he went home, Googled the name Ellen G. White, and all of these terrible websites come out. Lambasting, she was a plagiarist, she was a liar, her predictions were not fulfilled, she was involved in Freemasonry, all these things. And so the young man said, I thought to myself, is this really the church that I want to belong to? They said, I think I'll go next Saturday. So he decided that we'd go to church the next Saturday. And so he goes to church after having looked at all of these negative websites about Ellen White. And the elder was there, and he met him. He said, come on in. Glad you're here. And the young man sat down, and I'm telling you the story as he told it afterwards. He said, after I looked at all of these websites, I said, man, is this the kind of church that I really would like to belong to? I don't think so. He said, but then I started thinking, I can't think of one single prophet in the Bible that the people liked. In fact, most of them were hated. So if Ellen White is hated so much, she must have been on the right track. And so he says to the elder, I've been doing some research on Ellen G. White. I'd like to know if you have anything that she's written that I could read. And the elder said, oh, of course I have. I have a book, The Great Controversy. And he says, well, can I have a copy? He says, yes, you can have it. So the elder gave him a copy of Great Controversy. Went home, read the book in a week. The whole book. You're talking 800 pages in Great Controversy. He read the whole thing. And the next Sabbath he came to church. And the elder was there. And he said, sir, there is no doubt whatsoever in my mind, now that I've read this book, that this woman was inspired by the Holy Spirit. He says, because I've studied history, I can see what's happening in the world, and what she wrote so long ago is so precise with what has happened and what is happening now. To make a long story short, this individual who decided to research things for himself instead of going by the negative websites was baptized, and he became a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church very recently, just last year. And as he told the story, he says, now I'm witnessing to my family, I'm witnessing to my fellow workers, I'm witnessing to anyone that I can find, and I'm distributing copies of the book, The Great Controversy. Folks, if we don't cry out, the stones will. God will find a way of sharing the message. If it's not us, God has 1,000 ways of which we know none. The main thing is that we must study for ourselves. We must research these things for ourselves. Let's not take what other people say. People didn't love Ellen White, even in her day, because she said things that they didn't want to hear. She was politically incorrect. She rebuked sin. She openly was critical of decisions, wrong decisions that were made, even by the highest leaders in the church. And therefore she was disliked, because nobody likes to be rebuked. And yet rebuke can be one of the greatest blessings for our own personal experience. And so, as we've examined this particular subject, we know that God called Ellen White at the right time, in the right place, and with the right message. It is clearly delineated in the chronology of the prophecies of Daniel 7, the prophecy of Revelation 12, and the prophecy of Revelation chapter 13. And I might mention also that it's contemplated in other prophecies which we did not cover, like Joel chapter 2. You know, and Revelation chapter 6, where it speaks about the great earthquake. And then it speaks about the signs in the sun, the moon, the falling of the stars. And the prophetic gift is presented within the context of those signs, shortly after those signs appear. So there are many ways in which this can be approached. And any way that you approach it, you will find, if you have a sincere heart and an open mind, that God has raised up this special gift for this time and this place. And woe to us if we don't take advantage of this wonderful gift.